We're going to troubleshoot the timed-out waiting for Debuggee to spawn error in VS Code when debugging Python. This frustrating message pops up when VS Code can't connect to your running Python program for debugging. Let's go through several common causes and fixes. 1. Incorrect Python. Interpreter. VS Code needs to know which Python executable to use for debugging. Make sure you've selected the correct Python interpreter in VS Code. Go to your VS Code settings, File Preferences settings, or use the shortcut Ctrl+. Search for python.default interpreter path, and verify the path points to your Python installation. If it's wrong or missing, click the Select Environment button to choose the correct one from the list. 2. Launch configuration issues. The launch configuration, launch.json file, dictates how VS Code starts your Python program for debugging. Ensure that your program field in launch.json correctly points to the Python file you want to debug. A common mistake is an incorrect path or file name. Double-check for typos. Additionally, ensure that the python.linting.pylint enabled setting is disabled in your VS Code settings, as some linters may interfere with the debugging process. 3. Firewall or antivirus interference. Sometimes firewalls or antivirus software can block VS Code from communicating with the debugging process. Temporarily disable your firewall or antivirus to see if that solves the problem. If it does, you'll need to configure your security software to allow VS Code and your Python interpreter to communicate freely. Be sure to re-enable your security software after testing. 4. Port conflicts. VS Code uses a specific port to communicate with your Debuggee, your running Python program. If that port is already in use by another application, you might encounter this timeout. Try restarting your computer to clear out any lingering processes. If that doesn't work, you can check your system's port usage using command line tools, like netstat on Windows or lsof on macOS Linux. 5. Debugging with virtual environments. Are you using a virtual environment, Venviconda? If so, you absolutely must select the Python interpreter located within your virtual environment in the VS Code settings. Debugging a program from a virtual environment using a Python interpreter outside it will likely result in this error. 6. Outdated extensions. Out-of-date VS Code extensions, particularly the Python extension, can cause compatibility issues. Make sure your extensions are up to date. Check for updates in the VS Code extensions view, Ctrl+Shift+X, and update the Python extension. 7. Restart VS Code and computer. A simple restart of VS Code, or even your entire computer, can resolve transient issues that might be causing the problem. Try this before resorting to more complicated fixes. 8. Complex code issues. In rare instances, very complex or poorly structured code can sometimes cause problems during the debugging process. If you've tried everything above and still have the issue, consider simplifying your code or breaking it down into smaller, more manageable parts to debug. By systematically checking these points, you'll be able to locate the root cause of the timed-out waiting for Debuggee to spawn error and get back to debugging your Python code effectively.